To Ring is Chosen. It's our book club review of Green Lantern, Wrath of the First Lantern. Unfortunately, Crystal can't be with us this week, but Seth and Chance are here with us to give us their thoughts on the review of the book, and hopefully you'll share some of yours over the internet with us as well. Don't forget our next book club title is X-Men Days of Future Past, a Marvel title. Okay, but it does tie into the movie. So, I'm going to start off with Seth. You haven't picked up a comic in a long while, so what did you think?
It was good. It was really good. I'm a big fan of Green Lantern, and I thought it was a really interesting event, and that it was a good way for Geoff Johns to kind of wrap up his time spent with Green Lantern since, like 2006?
Yep.
When he did Origin? Something like that. So yeah, no, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Makes me want to read more comic books.
Chance, your thoughts?
I'm going to be a little more real about it. I liked it. Overall, I liked it. But the first maybe 7 comics were all the same thing. It was all Volthoom. Is it Volthoom?
Volthoom, yeah.
Volthoom going to these individual members of each corps and just giving them an alternate reality for them to, take into consideration. And some of them were interesting. The one with Atrocious was really interesting. I like that one the most.
Atrocitus.
Atrocitus, that's it.
You also didn't know who Logo was.
Yeah. Oh well. That I didn't like that aspect. But I really did enjoy the appearance of Necron and Sinestro taking in Parallax. That was
you're just gonna spill all your
badass.
thoughts on the book.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, okay. Well, you just asked me what I thought of this.
It's good. It's good. Let's just put it all out there.
That's just a little mild summary. Not summary, but that's my thought. Okay.
Well, okay, so I liked it. There was some inconsistency going on. Like, we got a little bit of, name blanket here. Simon Baz. We got a little bit of Simon Baz, and it was kind of like, you're here, I'm narrating, I'm in, I'm out, we barely talk about me again. Which has been my biggest issue with the character for the longest time. And Geoff Johns created him. And what started off as like just this big story ended as my love letter to Hal Jordan. And Sinestro, surprisingly.
Well, I mean, they go hand in hand.
It does kind of go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy it. I really felt like there could have been less of other things and more of other things. Like, I wanted more Simon Baz, and I could have dealt with less of, like you said, the let me pull your emotions through alternate realities, because, although I do enjoy a really good alternate reality story, it was kind of like, what are you doing, weird, creepy First Lantern dude?
Yeah.
Like, which I liked his ability.
I mean, I thought it was good because it was actual emotion in a book that's about the emotional spectrum.
Oh, no, totally, no doubt.
That's
good.
What I'm saying.
That was great.
I mean, there was a bit much of it.
It was a bit much.
But I thought that it had its place.
Right, it had its place, but a lot of that could have been told in less time, and other story elements could have been brought into play.
Yeah.
There's
already so much happening.
Right, exactly. There's already so much happening. We didn't need so much of that.
True.
So,
Agreed.
I guess that's part of where it lost me. And again, by doing a little bit less of that, where there was too much, we could have gotten more story elements in with like Simon or Hal or Sinestro.
Right.
Although we did get tons of Sinestro. I mean,
every moment with Sinestro in it was
gold.
Absolute. You stole the word right out of my mouth. It was incredible.
I mean, he is yellow, but it was gold.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
Nice.
Yeah. And his daughter's in it. I mean, she doesn't say a word, but like in the New 52, they were like just dodging the bullet.
When was his daughter in it?
She's mentioned, like, it's like,
Oh, well, she mentioned.
Yeah,
okay,
because like the New 52 is like dodging,
right.
like him having the daughter,
Oh.
and like she's visibly present.
I guess the first time that they really they're fully acknowledging her is really Sinestro.
So Sinestro number one.
Yeah.
But like here, it's like she's
I forgot that
relevantly.
they mentioned her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like mentioned, so I'm like, oh, good. And then of course him absorbing parallax was awesome.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But
And he controlled it too.
And he controlled it. Yeah, he's
back
like, I
to an
will.
inconsistency.
Mhm.
The one huge problem I had is when Sinestro was actually trying to get Raynor to bring back Krogar and all his people, and he actually tried, and he was trying to have them come through, and he just couldn't muster up enough power, I'm guessing. But later on, when Hal Jordan came back as a Black Lantern, Star Sapphire said to Raynor, "Why don't you bring him back?" He said, "I can't bring back people from the dead." Then why did he even try with the people on Krogar? You get what I'm saying? That really just felt weird to
Well,
me.
because they kind of pushed him to do it.
Right, they were like pushing him to do it.
They pushed him to do it, so he figured I might as well give it my best shot.
Remember, that ring also has a little bit of a mind of its own. You know, I mean, he manipulates the full power of the spectrum because of who he is, but the ring is the one that's like, I can allow you to share some life. You know, I got to choose who's worthy because, you know, the ring had its own story in the Brightest Day storyline. So, and of course, as we continue with the further adventures of Kyle in his own title, we're always learning more about the White Lantern and the meaning of that. I mean, he's clearly very powerful. He can access the full spectrum of abilities, for better and for worse. But like, it's one of those things where like I try to bring everybody back and I just couldn't. And meantime, Hal's like, you know, Geoff can't wait to bring people back in the worst way possible.
I'm cool being a Black Lantern for now.
Oh, he's green.
Well, yeah, he
Hal got to make it back.
after that.
Yeah, so yeah.
It's actually really cool.
Bizarre adventures of Hal and Sinestro trapped in the Black Lantern, which of course you had to read the previous, you know, series or trade to find out why the heck Sinestro and Hal are even there to begin with, or how Sinestro's ring got damaged and ended up on with Simon Baz. But it was still pretty cool. One of my favorite Simon Baz moments in the Black Lantern, where Sinestro is fighting him, and he's like, "And what are you going to do now?" And he grabs his gun and shoots him.
That was awesome.
Well, my favorite thing about that was, you know, Sinestro had just gotten done saying how Baz was nothing like him, and
too much
after
like
he shot him,
and
Jordan was like, "He's a little more like you than you think." Like,
I like that a lot.
That was great. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was awesome just because of the fact that it shows that his, you know, he doesn't just carry that gun around on his hip. His instinct is still to grab for the gun, even though, you know, he has this Green Lantern ring. He's still, you know, it shows that his instinct is still...
It's still to, yeah.
Still, his defense is on his hip.
I like that a lot. I feel for the character. I want the character's story to be told, and, like, I feel like that still hasn't been done. I mean, Simon Baz, it is. We got a lot of Kyle... and
which was awesome.
And Carol and Guy and
Can never get enough Carol.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed Carol, and of course, you know, they kind of like drew the lines of similarity here between her and Kyle.
I actually meant to say Kyle, but Carol is true too, but can never get enough Kyle is what I meant to say.
I really like Carol because that character has come a very long way.
And she had a satisfying end to her arc too at the end.
Totally.
Her and Hal and everything was great.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I like that she played a contributing role to the events, especially in the New 52 when we first see her and Hal. She's like, "Have you put the ring on?" He's like, "Oh, you know, like I don't even have my ring." And she's like, "I haven't put the ring on since we've gotten back."
Right.
She's like, "I just have it locked away. I don't even want to touch it." You know, and now we've gotten like this Carol is like, "Oh, I wear the ring. I gotta watch out for the guys." You know, she's got like her own uniform now. She's like, you know, offed it with the super sexist uniform and like has like the more uniformity kind of Star Sapphire. Yeah, it's like black and it's got like black and the purple and everything. Now it's like she's like now it's like a superhero costume.
Right.
We got into Guy Gardner's past with like him being an only child. And like all the incarnations of Lantern he has ever been, like from the first time he ever got a ring to when he was recruited during a Crisis on Infinite Earths, which may or may not have taken place in the New 52, because that's a weird bone of contention even when you read this, because they show they show his Crisis era uniform, and they show a little flash of the Anti-Monitor. So it's like, hey, it looks like if Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of took place, but we can't be sure.
That can't even be possible, though.
Oh, it can still totally be possible that it took place, just not the way we remember it. Because that's the way comics are famous for doing things. It happened, just not the way you remember it.
Basically, how they're doing
all the New 52. Make me sad, but it's okay. So, Wrath of the Green Lantern encompass Green Lanterns issues 17 through 20, Green Lantern Corps 17 through 20, Red Lanterns 17 through 20, and Green Lantern's New Guardians 17 through 20, which also featured all the aftermath. So, like, when Guy is being tortured by Valthoom about, like, not being an only child, being the middle child, but what if we twisted fate and made you an only child, and all this other sick stuff, and your parents blamed you for letting your siblings die, and, you know, let me leave you with that reality. You know, so of course, when all this is over, Guy's like, I'm going to go back to Earth and hang out with my family. You know? Or, like, messing with Kyle, like...
I was about to say, Kyle's was my favorite.
Yeah, like, with Kyle, it's like, what if your father was abusive and never left? Something like that.
I mean, you know, that was great. You know, it shows him the where his father was, and, you know, he was this kind of, you know, deadbeat mechanic and so on and so forth. But I thought what was great was when he gave him the opportunity to pick which timeline he wanted to live in, and Kyle immediately jumped to the one where his girlfriend was still alive.
Yes.
And then Volthoom was like, nope.
That's the one
like,
I
wanted you to pick that one, and I'm not going to give it to you because your despair tastes so good right now. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he said, something like that.
Yep. He's like, I guess he feeds off emotions.
Really twisted.
Okay, so key things about Valthoom here. So Valthoom appears when Krona, the Mad Guardian, okay, wants to go and see the beginning of time, which, as you know, is a pinnacle point, again, for Crisis on Infinite Earths. This book just keeps referencing something that may or may not have taken place in the New 52. Freaky. So Krona wants to look back in time, and Krona sees a hand, which those of you familiar with the continuity always know. In the beginning of the universe for DC, there's a hand. The beginning of the universe for Marvel, there's a voice.
Oh, really?
Yes. Except here in this story, there's a hand, and that hand is wielding a ring.
Yeah, when I saw the
scary.
Ring, that was crazy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't like this one bit. I liked it when it was mysterious, not all freakishly connected.
In the DC continuity, it's the voice, the hand, and there's one other one.
No. When they did JLA versus Avengers, where everything got mixed up, it was the voice and the hand. But Marvel has a voice.
Yeah, the source is broken up into 3 different things. I know that, and the voice and the hand are both just 2 different aspects of God, the source.
Allegedly, you know, but because it was described in a crossover event, so it's like you got to take that as you will. But Marvel got the voice, DC got a hand, and then of course we do have the source wall in DC, which of course I mentioned in the Green Lantern annual. It appears, and that's kind of scary.
Oh, really?
Sorry, Green Lantern New Guardians annual that came out this week.
Oh, really? Source. Interesting. I have to catch up.
So back to Krona. So Krona wants to see the beginning of time. The other Guardians like, no. They're all still in their like full able humanoid bodies at the time too. Ganthet's there. He's like, we can't have this. The explosion still happens. They see the hand with the ring. They're freaked out. And then this guy shows up, and he's like, I come in peace. I'm your friend. He has a white freaking lantern with all these colors emanating from the center. And that's supposed to be Volthoom, and he just looks like, you know, like an astronaut traveler almost.
Like a crazy old dude.
But he has those crazy eyes.
And let me tell you, his face when he says, I come in peace, is not a face of I come in peace.
That was a pretty sinister smile.
Right. Okay. So here's the thing with Volthoom. In all pre-New 52 continuity, Volthoom is the evil spirit that is trapped inside the ring, that power ring of the crime syndicate Earth controls. Okay? In this reality, we do not know, and they do not declare in this storyline where Volthoom comes from. At the end of this...
This is true.
They do not. And they send at the end when they get rid of him, they say we sent him back to what, his time and his place.
Something like that.
Right. They sent. Right. They do not specify where he is. So at the end of this, when there is in the final chapter, there is a lantern in the future who meets with a lantern who is robed, who you can't see their face, who is asking about the chapters of the Green Lanterns. He wants to know about their great battle, etc. And they're referencing the Book of Oa, and they're referencing this. Of course, that person he's talking to is secretly Sinestro, you know.
Fucking awesome.
Which is cool because later on it's like, what about Sinestro? What became of him? And you see the burned Sinestro hand is like, I burned all those pages have been removed from the Book of Oa, you know. And of course the burned hand implying, yep, I burned all my own pages because I realized I was a rotten guy.
I made that connection.
So, but this student, you know, young lantern, wants to know about this great battle and wants to know what became of them. And so we start flashing back to this moment in time, this epic battle against Balthoom. So of course we don't know where he came from, but when they battle him, and of course the power that he is like, you know, once I wield all this power over emotion, my constructs are real. In other words, I alter reality with my constructs is freaking psycho crazy awesome. As we move further into it, and they actually succeed in defeating him, and he goes back to his time, his place. This student asks Sinestro what became of everybody, and they mention how Simon Baz trains the first Earth female Green Lantern who obtains a ring. Now, in Forever Evil, Sinestro murders Power Ring from the crime syndicate, and that ring chooses this girl. Let me reference her. And of course, we haven't seen the end of Forever Evil yet, so we haven't witnessed her coming into our continuity completely. Oh, come on.
Oh my God, Sinestro.
Yeah, the art is super beautiful too. What the heck? I have to do this and I hate it. Jessica Cruz. So Jessica Cruz obtains that ring, and
Kyle looks like Jesus.
I was thinking that when I was
that,
reading.
I feel like that's quite intentional with him having
Kyle was
life
the
power.
Jesus
I'm
of the end
sure,
of the
yeah.
story.
I'm sure it's exactly was intentional, but still he looks like Jesus.
Hey, I just love how Jon Stewart becomes president, and Fatality is his first lady.
Right.
I'm like, that's a badass first lady. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, if we're gonna be a little more realistic, and he was gonna make her settle down on Earth, she'd be over here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
She'd be like, no, I gotta.
I'm sure she does. I'm sure she pulls the strings from behind the scenes.
No, because she's all lovey-dovey with him, but I mean, I don't think it doesn't make sense for him to be involved in politics, but I do think it's funny for Fatality to take on the role of like the more conservative wifey. Come on, guys. I mean, like, I'm a little mad at Geoff Johns for this. I realize that it probably makes a lot of sense for him to do this.
Yeah.
For Geoff Johns, I mean for Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
I really feel he was being kind of inconsiderate of Fatality's character.
Yeah.
I'm mad
because she's got more going on.
I'm mad at Geoff Johns for actually doing a future scenario.
Well, because this is his way of saying this is kind of how he sees it playing out. Because this is Geoff Johns' staple of ending it for himself.
I understand that.
You know? So like, and a lot of people, when they do a big run, there's a big run. I mean, what was this? Almost 10 years of him writing Green Lantern? Yeah, so I was like, this was a big run. So this was his way of just like putting his little staple on it. And as we know in comic books, it doesn't have to be true.
But if it doesn't have to be true, that's one thing. But since he wrote this, and if Green Lantern's going to stick with the continuity, they're going to have to just like follow in a timeline that just leads up to these events, unless they come up with another kind
I mean,
of
this could be
reality-altering
years
event.
and years and years.
Yeah,
in
something
the
would just
future.
alter reality in that sense. Anyhow, I still kind of liked it. I felt there's a lot of things that was like iffy. Anyhow, but this is happening, going to be occurring in the aftermath of Forever Evil here with Jessica Cruz. So let's point that out. And what's making me wonder is when she gets Power Rings ring, is there part of Valthoom's essence in it? Because that was the whole thing I wanted to bring up.
Right.
Here. You know, so I just want to bring that up. That was just a cool thing. But, you know, let's talk a little bit about some of this future talk. So Guy in the space bar, just
That
being
was
an old
pretty
man,
awesome.
that just seems like Guy.
That was great.
This was a good one for Jon Stewart, but I don't know how I feel about for Fatality. I just feel like I don't think she would just blend into this role
Right.
just because I'm so in love with him. Like, she would lose her persona for him. Kyle, this was kind of cool.
Jesus.
Right. Simon Boz, not a lot about Simon Boz. Just, he's going to get to train this girl.
Big deal.
You know, big deal. Although they did call Simon Boz the miracle worker as if he's going to, you know, really, like, do something more. So,
yeah, that could be important.
You know, he unlocked potential everywhere he went. So I kind of like that. Atrocitus, a really scary vision of the future for him. Atrocitus the Cursed. And Larfleeze, the Hoarder, like there's no hope for him.
They really gave Larfleeze a terrible ending.
I know, and you know it's awful.
It didn't do him any justice whatsoever.
But
I didn't even really see him in the fight against Valthoom.
Do Larfleeze justice?
But you know what's
Yes,
I see Larfleeze as nothing more than comic relief.
sometimes, but it was pretty dark.
Yeah.
With what's his name trying to go inside of him and play with his emotions.
I mean,
he's like I've given you everything you've ever wanted in every scenario, and he goes, and still you go right back to greed. He's like, I can't. You know, Valthoom keeps doing it. He's like, I can't deal with it because while he's connected to that ring, he can't reach into any other set of emotions with him, and that's damning and scary and sad. And I feel really bad for Larfleeze.
No. Not surprising.
Not surprising, but really sad. And then, of course, my buddy here, the Blue Lantern, Saint Walker, the Believer, where he actually like gets to grow the blue core.
All will be well.
You know. And then, of course, Indigo 1, where she like Iraqi, where she the Redeemer, and where she redeems herself, and she's like, I don't need to wear this ring anymore. You know, and then of course the lights out thing where like she actually wasn't wearing the ring and she confronts Sinestro and Hal Jordan and like, okay, you want to kill us too because all you other freaking Indigo Lanterns without your rings are just a bunch of crazy murderers, whatever. She goes, look, I don't want to kill you. She goes, I know I'm a bad person, but I know I'm a better person when I'm wearing that ring, so I need to help you guys.
Right.
You know, so like I like that, and not great, but I like that idea, and I like that one day she's just like, I'm one with it, and I don't need to wear the ring to know that.
She's just like,
Yep.
No.
And then of course we get into Hal getting married, having a baby with Carol, then becoming grandparents, and still keeping their rings. You know, that's kind of cute.
I mean, just to go back to that panel, I don't know how responsible it is for Batman to be in full costume around babies.
Oh no.
Terrifying.
No. This is clearly the Justice League.
But I mean, but it's still.
Superman's belt, yeah.
But
I
still,
noticed.
but I mean, still though, Batman's like a big scary guy, and like coming into a room with a newborn.
I am positive that the mask is down.
I know. I'm just.
Well, also, if that's also the case, what's his name?
Martin.
Martin will never succumb to the yellow power of fear.
Oh, that's true. Because like, I grew up looking at Batman all the time. Who cares?
But also, it's just as irresponsible to be unmasking yourself in front of babies.
Oh yeah,
and then when he grows up and when he grows up and he has a blabby mouth, he's gonna be like, "Hey guys, guess what? I know who Batman is." He's totally gonna retain that knowledge because this is comic books.
This is true.
Look, it's always dangerous and irresponsible when
the fact that you didn't even tell me to shut up that whole time.
Because that's because you know what? You know what that serves as an example? That serves as an example for all those people. I'm not going to name names, but you know exactly what I'm thinking of out there in the entertainment industry who are like, oh, we want it to be more real and more grounded, and then they want to tell stuff like this. Okay? Because obviously that doesn't work. Okay, you can't raise your children in a superhero environment and tell them crap. You need to break them into it slowly, or you need to raise them in
That's
a
what
very
I'm saying. Yeah, it's irresponsible to have Superman and Batman just hanging out on the baby.
Exactly, but you know, in comic books, people raise their kids in superhero environments like nothing.
Of course, yeah.
Man of Steel is awesome. Oh god.
Oh, Sex Hunter, Sex Macaque. Okay.
I'm just as good as gonna roll.
Yes.
This camera's not charging.
Okay.
It's a problem.
I know it is. I'm worried.
Motherfucker better work.
What's happening?
Do you guys usually get all that background noise when
Yes.
you replay the video?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
hilarious.
It's not. It's horrible. I'm worried. Why is he running? He's probably gonna go get the other adapter.
But yeah, so Batman around your baby's no good.
Don't do that.
He's got to have his fun.
No, he had his fun at home fighting viruses, not in class.
Horrible.
Getting a freaking quiz over with that would have raised his lowest grade.
Remember when I downloaded Dark Souls 2 last night? I clicked on it this morning and I was missing a Steam DLL.
Yay!
So I went to Google it and I fucking downloaded the wrong thing. Because you know on certain sites where it says download this.
Oh, okay.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
Good thing I brought
It
another
was
one of those
horrible.
fucking things.
Yeah, you always gotta be super careful before you click the download button. You gotta make sure it's the right one.
It looked legit.
Because they try. Yeah, they try so hard. Yes, back into it.
Irresponsible Batman. Exposed to your young children.
Yes, it's irresponsible to have Batman around your newborns, so just avoid that at all
I wouldn't
costs.
mind it.
While we're flash
I mean, I
forwarding,
wouldn't mind it either, but still, I mean, I'm just
There's a-
saying.
yeah,
if you don't want to
yeah.
scar your children at a young age, like.
I mean, newborn, mask down, and then like, look, when we hang out with the kids, like, they can't really know what's going on. It's secret identities in the future, guys.
Yeah.
Sinestro, so of course the newbie asked Sinestro about Sinestro. Sinestro's like, oh, those pages are missing.
Bird hand.
We flash back to Sinestro, like, what he did, he killed all the Guardians. Because he's like, I had enough of them. There were Guardians trapped in a lantern.
The Templar Guardians.
The Templar Guardians, they got to live because
They had no clue what was going on.
They had no clue what was going on.
Couple billion years.
Yeah, they've been trapped in there for multi-millennia,
Yes.
and so they got to live. And so, like, and in current continuity,
They're the new Guardians.
and they're the new Guardians, and they're hanging out with Kyle.
Does that
Probably
mean?
a good thing.
Does that mean the ongoing New Guardians title is going to end?
No, it's still Kyle hangs
No,
out,
'cause
and they're
the
in
new
there.
Guardians are about them, and not the Guardians. They're
Yeah.
the new Guardians because they're cool.
I thought maybe the New Guardians was just leading up to, you know, the New Guardians coming into play. And
Oh
this would be
yeah,
the
no,
end
it's
of it.
a kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's a loose use of the term.
Yeah,
New
okay, so
Guardians.
I'm
It's
glad to
referring to
see-
the team themselves,
I'm
not.
glad to see Rayner's going to retain his own title.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, it's still his title, and now, well, yeah, there's still other elements of those new Guardians in play, and yes, there's use of the new Guardians of Oa as well. So when we flash over to what Sinestro was up to, he murdered all the original Guardians. He did threaten Ganthet, but of course Ganthet was like, no, slay me, like I totally deserve it. So he decided not to. He actually returned Ganthet back to Sade.
And that was his gift to Warfleet.
And his gift to Warfleet is like,
most precious secret.
right, he has the most special secret that two of the original Guardians still live. And that's really cool. In its own way.
I mean, Warfleet was upset because secrets don't taste as good as rat waffles.
Yeah.
But
Rat.
I mean, you know, it's something at least that he can have and only he has.
And then, of course, you know, he refers to Hal as the spark that ignited an everlasting fire.
Of
And-
course.
You know, and then, of course, we get into, you know,
Sweet little send-off.
yeah, the little send-off books. You know, Jon Stewart spent some time with Fatality. Although, what do they call her lately?
Hanging out on Mogo.
Yira. Yeah, they hang out on Mogo. Who's a lot? I always feel weird about people, you know, being intimate or having sex on other living things. They're
I mean, they do say it in here, and she just says, "Who cares?"
Yeah, exactly. She's like,
John's like, "Hey, Mogo can see us,"
and she's like, "Who cares?
Who cares?
Or like at the end of the first Transformers, where what's his name and his girlfriend are just about to have sex on Bumblebee, and it's like, Bumblebee's alive. It's like, but they don't care. Okay, like, and then the rings just like float around without them. I think that's kind of funny. Whatever. And then Guy Gardner decides he's gonna go check out Earth, and he visits his parents. I don't know why. I forgot about him grabbing St. Walker for a moment.
Well, he kidnaps St. Walker because he wants to go attack Czar, who was on Earth terrorizing his family. So he basically drags St. Walker along for the ride until his ring's around 325%.
So he's supercharged.
Because, the Blue Lanterns charge the Green Lantern's rings.
And he fries him from the inside
out. Kind of just overclocks the ring and then just
burns
really
into
has
nothing.
at it. Yeah, I love that. The ash, like the burn mark on the wall.
What's this guy's name again? Czar. Yeah, so like, Guy's just had enough of it. Yeah, you notice how Guy clearly doesn't have issues with killing.
Well, we also, it's also revealed that the Guardians released Czar so that they could kill Guy. So Guy just kind of says, "I've had enough of this. Tell me, Salak, figure out where Czar is, and I am going to kill him." And that's exactly what he does. Which, I mean, yeah, no, like you said, he has no problem with killing, but I mean, I would do the same thing if it was my family. That's pretty crazy.
It was pretty crazy. But
crazy space monster.
He did save his family. He did actually get to spend time with them. Of course, just hanging out with normal people was driving him crazy.
Yeah, he tells his brother that he's gonna start patrolling around Earth more, and that, there's plenty of other lanterns out there that can take care of space. He's gonna stay on Earth and take it easy. And after like 10 days,
he's like, "I can't do this. I gotta go."
He keeps like leaving the house to go outside and stare up at the stars. So finally, his brother and sister come out and are just like, "Listen, we understand. You need to be where you need to be." And he's just like, "All right."
And then we get the flash over to the New Guardians. I like how Kyle is painting a picture of Gambit.
Oh yeah, and they talk about how his emotions flow through in his paintings much better now that he's a White Lantern.
Yep,
those are some pretty paintings.
No, they're amazing, and I love that they're still focused on Kyle, being an artist, absolutely. Yeah. And look, like I love how he goes and loves Huntress fatality. Like I really loves
Huntress.
Right. I like how there's a lot of personality in all the arts that he did for the characters.
Yes.
And of course, St. Walker joins him, and which is cool because you got the embodiment of hope and the embodiment of life hanging out together. And I mean, and should he tap into some willpower, it will supercharge him. And of course he's thinking about Carol, and she's hanging out with Hal, so that's awkward because they have feelings. Also. No.
I mean, I personally like when he's hanging out with St. Walker, and he's asking them how the other Corps are doing, and St. Walker's like, "Why don't you look? You're the only one that can
see it all.
That can see all of the Corps." And I love how he flashes into the Blue Lanterns are hanging out on the new planet. They're doing good. He flashes over to what you said. Hal and Carol hanging out. He flashes into Indigo, and Indigo 1 can actually see him, and he's just like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Sorry for spying on you." And then he closes it, and then St. Walker's just like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I think she actually likes you." So it was just a whole funny little.
Oh, she could poke her finger back through the portal.
Yeah. She's like, "Knock."
Okay, by the way, I want to share something special about how the Indigo powers work.
Okay.
Do you know how they work?
Sort of, yes.
Okay, so
about how they can channel different colors and everything.
Right, the Indigo Lanterns channel other colors. So, and Kyle's power is to master them all.
So it makes perfect sense.
Right, so I think it's kind of interesting that of anyone to be able to sense his abilities, it would be her. Yeah. I kind of think that's cool. And I like how she books
it makes sense. It's been established in the comics in the past that she can make contact with the cores that she channels. So it makes sense that she would, when he's channeling through to her and she's spying, it would make sense that she would be like, "Oh,
I'm aware.
That seems familiar."
Yeah.
Knock.
She has a pretty cool power for HeroClix too.
Oh, does she?
One of her previous ones, not the newest one, but like that where she she could teleport anybody she could teleport anyone with a keyword of the lanterns to her.
Oh, nice.
Which I really like.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
And then, of course, the fact, so Kyle's tormentation from Valthoom had to do with his dad, and so, of course, he finds his dad.
Yep.
And, they have some kind of moment. And, of course...
yeah. His dad's a little weird, and Kyle's just like, hey, let's get dinner. How bad can it possibly be?
And then deep in space, deep in space...
Sade and Ganthet are watching over Kyle.
Glowing green, but in white robes.
Yes.
Which makes me wonder, what does that mean for their future?
That man, his magnificent hair.
Yeah, and then of course, there was one Guardian. Then we go to the Red Lanterns. One Guardian was saved for Atrocitus, so he could eat him alive, basically.
Right.
There's some other characters that they're fighting that I recognize them, and I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember the inversions. I can't remember where this falls with that story, but they're going after them. But in the meantime, throughout this book, we've been following the Earth Red Lantern. So this ties up his story to the woman he tries to have a relationship with on Earth, and she once again is like, "Nope, this is ridiculous. You're never going to change."
That was one thing
that
I forgot to bring up. That was one of my gripes with Wrath of the First Lantern as a whole. Was I really liked what is his name? Rancor or something like that? Rancor. So Rancor has this really cool storyline somewhere, around halfway through Wrath of the First Lantern, where, the Red Lanterns are kind of monsterish in appearance, and they're just generally scary, blood coming out of their mouth and everything. So, he actually creates a construct, since he's the only Red Lantern that can do constructs, right?
No, only those who've mastered Rage can do constructs.
But wasn't he one of the first ones to do it with the Red Ring?
No.
Because I thought that was like a whole big deal. They were like, oh, how did you do that?
It is a big deal.
Or maybe it was a big deal because he was new?
Yes, absolutely. Because Atrocitus could do it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
And Dexter can do it.
That's right, Dexter can.
Which, of course, everyone's like, how can the cat do it?
Cats are evil creatures.
I know, but, I don't know if you've read Dexter's origin.
No, I have not.
Yeah, he was an Earth Cat.
But anyway,
it's beautiful.
Getting back to, I figured an Earth Cat, that's funny. But Rancor has this cool, he creates this construct that basically makes him look like a regular dude, and he's like hanging out with this girl, and he's making progress, having actual human interaction, which is something he's not used to recently. And it's all going well for him until Bleeze decides to show up in her apartment at the worst time ever. And then he kind of just has to be like, this is the way things are, this is the way that I look.
Yeah.
I'm not a monster, I won't hurt you. I promise.
So, that kind of wraps it up. I don't know, there's so many ups and downs and everything in this book. I will hope we covered everything.
Yeah.
Does that really wrap it up?
I don't know. Oh, he went inside Atrocitus. Okay, so when he went inside Atrocitus' timeline, that was messed up. Where he's like, which timeline do you want, Atrocitus? The one now where your sector is destroyed? Or this other timeline where you end up having this horrible, ungrateful child who murders you? Which one do you want?
And the fact of the matter, and then he picks.
And he picks the one where everything was destroyed.
Everything was destroyed, and then he actually sends a message out to the Red Lanterns, telling all of them that their number one enemy is Atrocitus, and that he needs to be killed at any costs.
That was awesome.
And then actually through that whole scenario, he kind of relearns to kind of channel his rage, or where his rage needs to be pointed, and he kind of gets focused, and it's scary.
Yep, and he's like, I am reborn now. Now you'll follow me again.
Atrocitus the curse.
Yeah, Atrocitus the curse. And they're like, okay, Psycho, well, fine, you're still scary.
You told us to kill you. And then he kind of beats the shit out of everybody.
So did any of you guys get a shiver up your spine when Sinestro absorbed Parallax and actually went after the First Lantern?
You talked about that.
You didn't really touch on it.
Well, it was awesome.
The only shiver in my spine is that the Sinestro became the hero of the story.
Yeah.
I was like, we're doing this now?
I think we should talk about the fact that fucking Hal threw himself off of a cliff in the dead world so that way he could get a Black Lantern ring came to Earth.
So he could get Necron out.
Saw it wasn't enough, went back down, got Necron, came back up, gave him some orders. Necron was like, I am death, you do not command me. And Hal Jordan was like, I am Hal Jordan, you are my slave. Like,
it didn't really work that way, but Necron's like, but I do want to kill, so.
that's basically the way that it went, though. I mean, it didn't work, but that's exactly what Hal said.
It was
He
really
was like, I command you.
Wait, what did he say? He told Necron to attack who?
To the
attack
first
Volpoon,
lantern.
Yeah, to go after Val. How come that didn't work?
Is that? I don't know.
Okay,
Well,
we gotta go back to that. We gotta go back. I gotta
Well,
find it.
how it ended up going is he didn't straight up attack him.
He did hit Valthoom good.
Yeah,
Necron.
after he was drained of the emotional spectrum.
From Sinestro.
Yes.
Who ripped out his
Sinestro
heart.
was like, I control fear. And he just like, oh my god, it was incredible.
Oh, this is so great. He's like, do it, Jordan, do it. And look, he chained Necron up.
Yeah.
And then Jordan was like drilling him with like death energy. Oh, and made him human.
Yeah.
Oh, and then death
And
blow.
then Necron, slice. Got him good. I love that scythe.
So was he
Lantern at the
sent
top,
back to
so
wherever he came from,
Look,
or was he killed off?
Valthoom has been eradicated, and his corrupted ring banished back to his universe.
So just the ring was sent back.
Right,
Not
his
Valthoom
corrupted
himself.
ring back to
But
his universe, which
If the point of contention that Cliff doesn't know about whether or not is that Volthoom might be
the
in
ring, that goes to the
so
Crimson
he might not actually be gone. Very hard to say.
And then, of course, the fact that Valthoom had pulled out young Hal
Oh yeah.
from the
forgot
emotional
about all
spectrum,
that.
who was just like missing his dad, and so like Death Lantern Hal like went to him, and he's like, Dad, is that you? And he's like, come to me, and he's like, I missed you so much, and they were like fusing, and then the Green Ring, looking for a savior, went to Hal, and it's like, you've been chosen, and it restored him to life and made him Green Lantern. It really was a beautiful moment. But the story was a little bit all over the place. But it was still a really great story.
Yes.
I mean,
All in all, I'd give it a solid 7.5 out of 10.
I guess I'm in the same ballpark.
I give it
'Cause-
like a 9.
Really, a 9?
I'm a big Green Lantern fan.
I know, but I mean, have you read the Sinestro Corps War?
Yeah, of course.
That
I
was
read all
epically
of John's
beautiful.
stuff.
I know. I was gonna say. I mean,
and I read some of the old ones. I read the one from like the 80s or whatever when he originally
of course,
like
but I'm
became
just-
Parallax and everything.
I mean, out of
Well, I don't
Johns'
think
work.
I'm not
out of
trying to
Johns'
say
work.
it's the Johns' best work, but
No.
it is absolutely fantastic.
I think an 8
And I
is
thought
very, very high.
It worked very, very well.
I'm going with an 8, whereas I love the Sinestro Corps War. If anyone's interested in picking that up, the Sinestro Corps War for me is pretty much a 10.
Or Brightest Day or Blackest Night.
Brightest Day is not as strong as Blackest Night.
Well, I mean, but I'm just saying those are both also fantastic.
They're fantastic, but
no,
I think
Blackest Night is the best one because that's where you get all the emotional fucking treachery.
Blackest Night is good for the emotional treachery, but I think the most solid. I think the most.
Sinestro Corps War.
Sinestro Corps
Like I
War
said,
is the 10.
Jordan and Sinestro are hand
Yeah.
in hand, man. Batman and Joker, like Superman and Lex
Yeah.
Luthor.
But I just Sinestro Corps for me is the 10 because that's the one. Not about emotional treachery,
Yeah.
just about solid
Oh
plot,
my God, that
action.
moment when all of the lights in the city start lighting up green in the windows
Yes.
in support of oh my God.
Yeah, it was just
so many chills. Also, so much disappointment because that's what the Green Lantern movie should have been, something like that. And it was just
Don't
like
even tell me.
it would have been
because I
so
know it. I
easy.
agree.
The only 10 I've ever given a trade.
We're just focusing on Geoff Johns' Green Lantern mostly.
Okay. fair
I'm
enough.
just saying. I don't want to go outside that route. I'm just saying, out of his work, I would definitely
Oh, we
say
were all talking about ratings, and I just got to like thinking.
No, I'm not saying. Let's not do the whole scope because it gets too crazy. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the scope of Green Lantern and
way
Geoff
too
Johns'
crazy.
run. Because I liked Rebirth. It was like a good igniter, you know, but it still wasn't the best one. But like Sinestro Corps War was like the one that just got everything like rolling, you know.
Wrath of the First Lantern gets, maybe I'll go as low as 8.5. I mean, maybe not 9, but still somewhere in that range.
Right, no,
because
definitely, in that, right,
It's
somewhere
not-
between that 7.5 and that 8.5, 9.
Not the best, not the best Green Lantern story. I mean, it's fantastic. I just loved it because I thought that it was really the first crossover event that, like, big, like, awesome, in my opinion at least. I mean, I know that it's limited to the Green Lantern books, but I thought it was just an awesome, like, big crossover event. You know, I haven't seen too much of that in the New 52. I mean, Court of the Owls.
Yeah, but that was still
Amazing.
a Bat event.
What is that? Well,
That was-
no, but I'm just saying, I know that's the same thing where it's Batman, it's, you know, Green Lantern event, Batman event. I'm just saying, I thought it was awesome. I thought it, you know, it did a little, you know, it was good.
I don't think we've gotten that yet.
And I like, well, no, we haven't really, the cross, you know, brightest day, blackest night kind of event. No, we haven't gotten anything that expansive. But, well, wasn't like the Trinity War supposed to be that?
Trinity War kind of was, and I thought that was an epic fail for trying.
I didn't read it.
For trying to be that. I mean, I'm sure it's still kind of enjoyable, but all Trinity War did, all it accomplished, is literally was like, boom, Pandora's box open, welcome to Crime Syndicate.
Yeah.
That's it. Next book, we destroyed the Justice League. The Crime Syndicate rules this planet now. What?
Okay, I really want to read it. Don't ruin it for me.
It's not even over yet. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's how one story ends, and the next one
I
starts.
am looking forward to Forever Evil so
Well, yeah,
bad.
and then getting around to it, you know, there was a lot of things that I liked about the book. You know, I really thought that it was a satisfying end. I liked that they finally got the Guardians out and they brought some new Guardians in. I thought that was handled well. You know, I saw a lot of the things I wanted to see, including some that I never knew that I always needed, like Parallax Sinestro, so amazing, and is just great. That, and then Black Lantern Hal, and just all this awesome stuff, and then Hal and Sinestro's little conversation at the end about whether or not they're friends, and Sinestro's just like, we've always been friends. And
Yeah, he's like, that's a sad thing, and we've always been friends.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like, you guys are tearing at my heartstrings.
It made my heart bleed.
I was like, this is awkward and bizarre, and I don't know how I feel about it. But Sinestro, you're very disturbing, calling people friends.
I thought it was really weird how at the end, the guy in the robe being Sinestro was a Green Lantern again. He joins, he gets kicked out. He joins, he gets kicked out.
He keeps making new Sinestro Wars.
Like,
in all fairness, I mean, I guess the ring would be the one to choose him. But in all fairness, I mean, I'm assuming that nobody knows he's Sinestro.
yeah.
But still, I mean,
Like,
it is weird. But do you think like he kept like the ring like all that time?
Maybe.
No, I think I like to believe in this series of events that things happen, and once again a ring went back to him.
Yeah, I mean
Once more.
that's you know also quite possible. But I mean, I just can't wait to see. I can't wait to see. You know, I mean, he goes into you know, he goes into hiding, and they're addressing that. They have Sinestro, the series coming out. You know, issue 1 was awesome, I thought, and I'm really excited to see that and kind of how he comes back into play. And it's cool. Orsa Drax has the Book of Parallax embedded on her skin, and she can use it to recharge his ring. Oh my god. I'm just very excited.
I want to know more about her, because we know about her, but I want to know more about her. She's from the same species of alien as Shadowlass from the Legion of Superheroes.
Right.
And Shadowlass's ancestor, Lyda Malor, was a member of Legion in pre-52. Now I'm like, but they always establish in Legion of Superheroes lore that her ancestor from this era was a hero in her own right. So I am like, where are you? Please show up. I want to see you shadow powering around in the DC universe in some space epicness with somebody. Bring that back. I would love that. So I don't know. I know I'm just throwing that out of nowhere because my Legion fanness.
I wouldn't be surprised though, because I mean she's being introduced as, you know, what seems like a fairly important character in the new Sinestro
Right, so it would be kind of cool. It's like,
we'll get
who
more
are we
about
being
it.
attacked by? My sister, and it's like the sister is freaking Shadowlass's ancestor. Like, yes, like I've been chasing you down.
That'd be crazy.
You know, it's like I'm using fear. It's like I'm mastering the darkness to block out your fear.
Yeah, I'm mastering the darkness to block out your fear.
You know, because I've always liked Shadowlass's power. It's just cool and weird and just, you know, it has different effects on people because, you know, like when she uses it, you're just completely blocked out on your senses. You're like, I'm in the dark and I'm alone. I can't feel anything or sense anything or see anything. There could be 20 of you in there, but you are just like, I'm alone.
One thing I just realized, Arkillo was barely in Wrath of the First Lantern.
Yep.
But he was dubbed the new leader of the.
I mean, yeah, he was. Well, he took over. When you read Sinestro 1, you'll see about that.
But
they
yeah,
addressed
that
too.
is a good point.
But I just
He was
realized that
barely
because
in.
I was looking at him on the back of the book, and I was just like, Arkillo is usually like a pretty big player when it comes to stuff. But They didn't really. They showed him like once, yeah, because they showed him like taking over like the Sinestro Corps.
He played a huge part in New Guardians. Yeah, that's weird. They would even show him on the back of the cover like he's a major character.
Well, I mean, they should also show Kilowog and.
Kilowog.
Okay, wait, actually, yeah, they do show Kilowog. Oh, also Jon Stewart wasn't a big enough major player here.
Yes.
But yet Jon Stewart got one of the freaking happy endings at the end when we flash forward to the future.
I mean, I always
I'm
feel
okay
that
with
Jon
that.
Stewart is underused.
I am okay with that, but it was ridiculous that this sort of event underutilized him. Now, with that...
But, yeah, with all the emotional trauma that comes along with this event, you would think Jon Stewart...
Right, and Jon Stewart has earned plenty. I blew up a planet, and this girl who's in love with me is because the ring made her forgive me and love me for blowing up, for getting her world blown up. And the fact that when after the Blackest Night, when they had that other freaking series that he had to channel through the Indigo Ring of Black Lantern to kill Mogo...
Yeah.
Him, all the people who've had emotional challenges, you think that freaking
and then just recently, he had to break that guy's neck.
Yes.
The fellow Green Lantern's wife to keep him from leaking information. So
yes.
They're just constantly shitting all over Jon Stewart's life. They're just like, we love you being emotional and moody and
but not in this story that was all about emotions.
Yeah.
So I would have loved more Jon Stewart. I think he was deserving. We barely even got Indigo 1.
No, this is true.
You know, and why, as someone who focuses on compassion, why wasn't freaking what's his name after her?
True.
So yeah, there was a lot of misbeats, and that's the one last thing because you guys brought it up because we see all these characters in the back who are definitely not utilized at all or terribly underutilized in the story. I feel there was so much pressure to get Geoff Johns to pump out this final story and move him on to other projects, that when I read this in publication, and those of you who enjoyed any of my older episodes where I talked about it, you knew that I was crapping all over the storyline because at the time, the Third Army was in Green Lantern books, and the publication of this was just, the timing was terrible. It was like the Third Army story was just like, we're finishing, wrap it up, and I was like, I was just reading a Third Army issue, now I'm reading this, I'm all over the place, I couldn't handle it. Reading it by itself, separate, it transitions better. I still, even when I was looking at the Third Army trade the other day in the store, I was like, you know, this story still was wrapped up way too quickly.
Well, yeah, no, because they kept going, oh, Third Army, you're going to change the Green Lantern universe forever, like, nothing's ever going to be the same.
And then it was like, oh,
and then
guess
they're
what?
just like, oh, Kyle Rayner mastered all the, he's a White Lantern, boom, boom, zap, zap, up, Wrath of the First Lantern, like...
Yeah, nothing was changed forever, just
That's
Kyle...
exactly what happens.
Just Kyle mastered the White Lantern, so he's changed forever, sort of.
And
so,
that was important to the story, but still.
But not that kind of change.
No.
This has big
felt
changes.
that this was the change that they were really talking about, but they just, for whatever reason...
Look, I've known for many years they have their crazy internal issues and it goes to hell. That was too rushed. This was too rushed. He still told a great story for what it was, but it is clear by... the characters not being utilized to their full potential or not being utilized at all when they should be, and there's some lacking. But for what it is, I think it's still very enjoyable. I just wish we kind of got the story that we kind of deserved. And I think that's why I hold Sinestro Corps War to such high esteem, because in the era that we received it, we got it in an era where there was a full plan for that, and it was pretty methodical, and we get a nice... you know, solid story. I remember reading issues just filled with excitement. Reading it in trade is also beautiful, and it's always the Green Lantern story I'm recommending to people. You know, I mean, you know, I'm always saying, oh, you got to read this, you got to read that, because you like Hal Jordan, you like Green Lantern. These are the books to read to fire you up. But that's always the one where I'm like, that is the event, that is the one. You know, and like, you know, I would say this is good reading, but I wouldn't call this, you know, the one. And with that, I feel like I've killed us all. Thank you guys for joining me. I think we covered this to death.
Having us.
I'm looking forward to the book club book after the next one.
You think you are, but Crystal's choosing the next few, so you don't know what's going to happen yet.
It's Marvel DC, right?
No, it's whatever we pick. Obviously, I chose X-Men Days of Future Past because that movie is coming.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us for 2 episodes this week and our book club. We'll be back next month with Days of the Future Past. At least 2 of us will be here for that.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll have Billiam too, since he's a Marvel hater.
I love Marvel. I can't believe they're killing Wolverine.
That's right. I got 400 hits just talking about that. All right. Have a great week. Comment, tweet us, Facebook us. We have the
Adios.
email. Take care.
Comic books. Comic books. Comic books. Comic books. Comic books. Comic book. Comic book. Comic book. Comic book. Comic book.
What?
Comic book. Comic book. Comic book. Comic book.
Comic book?
Comic book. Comic book.